Episode 178. He ran to the door, seized the doorknob again, and wrenched at it, but the door would not open. Harry turned back to Dumbledore. "Let me out," he said. He was shaking from head to foot. "No," said Dumbledore simply. For a few seconds they stared at each other. "Let me out," Harry said again. "No," Dumbledore repeated. If you keep me in here, if you don't let me—" "By all means, continue destroying my possessions," said Dumbledore serenely. "I dare say I have too many." He walked around his desk and sat down behind it, watching Harry. "Let me out," Harry said yet again, in a voice that was cold and almost as calm as Dumbledore's. "Not until I have had my say," said Dumbledore. Do you think I want to? Do you think I give up? I don't care what you've got to say," Harry roared. "I don't want to hear anything you've got to say." "You will," said Dumbledore sadly, "because you are not nearly as angry with me as you ought to be. If you are to attack me, as I know you are close to doing, I would like to have thoroughly earned it." "What are you talking about?" "It is my fault that Sirius died," said Dumbledore clearly. "Or I should say almost entirely my fault. I will not be so arrogant as to claim responsibility for the whole. Sirius was a brave, clever, and energetic man, and such men are not usually content to sit at home in hiding while they believe others to be in danger. Nevertheless, you should never have believed for an instant that there was any necessity for you to go to the Department of Mysteries tonight. If I had been open with you, Harry, as I should have been, you would have known a long time ago that Voldemort might try and lure you to the Department of Mysteries, and you would never have been tricked into going there tonight. And Sirius would not have had to come after you. That blame lies with me, and with me alone." Harry was still standing with his hand on the doorknob, but he was unaware of it. He was gazing at Dumbledore, hardly breathing, listening, yet barely understanding what he was hearing. "Please, sit down," said Dumbledore. It was not an order, it was a request. Harry hesitated, then walked slowly across the room, now littered with silver cogs and fragments of wood, and took the seat facing Dumbledore's desk. "Am I to understand," said Phineas Nigellus slowly from Harry's left, "that my great-great-grandson, the last of the Blacks, is dead?" "Yes, Phineas," said Dumbledore. "I don't believe it," said Phineas brusquely. Harry turned his head in time to see Phineas marching out of his portrait, and knew that he had gone to visit his other painting in Grimmauld Place. He would walk perhaps from portrait to portrait, calling for Sirius throughout the house. "Harry, I owe you an explanation," said Dumbledore. "An explanation of an old man's mistakes. For I see now that what I have done and not done with regard to you bears all the hallmarks of the failings of age. Youth cannot know how age thinks and feels, but old men are guilty if they forget what it was to be young, and I seem to have forgotten lately." The sun was rising properly now. There was a rim of dazzling orange visible over the mountains, and the sky above it was colourless and bright. The light fell upon Dumbledore, upon the silver of his eyebrows and beard, upon the lines gouged deeply into his face. "I guessed 15 years ago," said Dumbledore, "when I saw the scar upon your forehead, what it might mean. I guessed that it might be the sign of a connection forged between you and Voldemort. "You've told me this before, Professor," said Harry bluntly. He did not care about being rude. He did not care about anything very much anymore. "Yes," said Dumbledore apologetically. "Yes, but you see, it is necessary to start with your scar. For it became apparent shortly after you rejoined the magical world that I was correct, and that your scar was giving you warnings when Voldemort was close to you, or else feeling a powerful emotion." "I know," said Harry wearily. "And this ability of yours to detect Voldemort's presence, even when he is disguised, and to know what he is feeling when his emotions are roused, has become more and more pronounced since Voldemort returned to his own body and his full powers." Harry did not bother to nod. He knew all of this already. "More recently," said Dumbledore, "I became concerned that Voldemort might realize that this connection between you exists. Sure enough, there came a time when you entered so far into his mind and thoughts that he sensed your presence. I am speaking, of course, of the night when you witnessed the attack on Mr. Weasley." "Yeah, Snape told me," Harry muttered. "Professor Snape, Harry," Dumbledore corrected him quietly. "But did you not wonder why it was not I who explained this to you? Why I did not teach you occlumency? Why I had not so much as looked at you for months?" Harry looked up. He could see now that Dumbledore looked sad and tired. "Yeah," Harry mumbled. "Yeah, I wondered." "You see," continued Dumbledore heavily, "I believed it could not be long before Voldemort attempted to force his way into your mind, to manipulate and misdirect your thoughts, and I was not eager to give him more incentives to do so. I was sure that if he realized that our relationship was, or had ever been, closer than that of headmaster and pupil, he would seize his chance to use you as a means to spy on me. I feared the uses to which he would put you, the possibility that he might try and possess you. Harry, I believe I was right to think that Voldemort would have made use of you in such a way. On those rare occasions when we had close contact, I thought I saw a shadow of him stir behind your eyes. I was trying in distancing myself from you to protect you. An old man's mistake." Harry remembered the feeling that a dormant snake had risen in him, ready to strike on those occasions when he and Dumbledore made eye contact. Voldemort's aim in possessing you, as he demonstrated tonight, would not have been my destruction. It would have been yours. He hoped, when he possessed you briefly a short while ago, that I would sacrifice you in the hope of killing him. He sighed deeply. Harry was letting the words wash over him. He would have been so interested to know all this a few months ago, and now it was meaningless compared to the gaping chasm inside him that was the loss of Sirius. None of it mattered. "Sirius told me that you felt Voldemort awake inside you, the very night that you had the vision of Arthur Weasley's attack. I knew at once that my worst fears were correct. Voldemort, from that point, had realized he could use you. In an attempt to arm you against Voldemort's assaults on your mind, I arranged occlumency lessons with Professor Snape." He paused. Harry watched the sunlight, which was sliding slowly across the polished surface of Dumbledore's desk, illuminate a silver ink pot and a handsome scarlet quill. Harry could tell that the portraits all around them were awake and listening raptly to Dumbledore's explanation.